So the last time we talked about Nick is Not Green, it was regarding the Super Mega situation, in which he had basically supported his friends, Lex, Updog, and Ethan is Online, in sort of running this hate campaign to take down Super Mega. Lex's claim initially was that she was SA'd by her boyfriend at the time, Dawn, and Dawn was employed by Super Mega, and she's basically said that Matt and Ryan of Super Mega tried to cover up what happened. Well, through a lot of details that we've been through time and time again that I can't get into now, so if you don't know the situation, you got to just watch my previous videos about it. Through a lot of details, it was discovered that Lex was pretty much a very unreliable narrator. She was surrounding herself with people like Leighton Stollard, who were pathological liars, and overall, the allegations against Super Mega were extremely overblown, if not downright unnecessary. And Nick, for a long time, had a hard time acknowledging this, you know? The thing about Nick is he was the one who blew up the situation to such a massive degree, right? Because if you go to his channel, you see he's got a pretty big channel. I think it was a little bigger. I think he's lost some subscribers, but he had posted a few videos about Super Mega and they had gotten hundreds of thousands of views. And I believe the main one was called Super Mega is full of horrible people. And then it was my drama with Super Mega. And then later on, there was also, I believe, 2 responses that Nick posted. And both of them were kind of avoiding accountability for the fact that, you know, he reported this situation without having done the proper research. He took the side of his friends instead of doing his, you know, due diligence, his journalistic diligence, right?
Of course, I'm gonna take the side of a personal friend of mine when she comes out with a story about her own sexual assault. This isn't like an online, like, normal thing where I look at all the facts and I make a decision. No. My friend was assaulted and never felt like she was able to be heard.
Instead of doing that, he had this big conflict of interest where, well, I'm a commentary channel that's supposed to be fair and honest, but my friends are accusing Super Mega of all these things, so I should just support them. And, you know, through reading the cringe Reddit post that detailed all of the allegations that he, you know, reported as complete fact, despite them all being unsubstantiated and later disproven.
Do people think that just legitimately she just wants to outright lie about the way they treated her for no reason? I don't really understand where people are coming from when they call me a liar with an agenda and they call her a liar with an agenda. Where do you guys think we're coming from? You think we're like a part of the Illuminati or something?
Through his personal bias clearly shining through when he was happy about Matt Watson getting punched and being like, when somebody who covers up gets punched. Let's just watch that a few more times.
And my favorite post right here says, rape apologist gets what he deserves. And it shows Matt getting the absolute beaten out of him. Let's just let it play a couple more times. We can keep watching it. I don't think anyone minds letting this loop on repeat. We could just let this go. If you want me to do this for the rest of the video, I could.
There were a lot of cringe moments in these videos, and I'm not saying you can't be personally invested in stories. That's fine. You know, you can make jokes about whatever you want, but all these factors added up together were a problem because Nick was not accurately reporting the story. He was misrepresenting what happened, and you know, part of that was because Lex and Ethan had told him, you know, about it. They had misrepresented what happened to him, but when you're a public figure, it's still your decision. Now, Nick has made this final video called I Make Harmful Content. That needs to change. It is 12 minutes long. Now, full disclosure, I've already seen this video. I watched it actually in person with Destiny, and we kind of gave our thoughts on it. He didn't seem that convinced. He thought that Nick took too long to apologize, basically, and so as a result, it doesn't really matter. I am more sympathetic, and I actually think that this is probably the best response we could have asked for, but obviously, you guys haven't seen it yet, so we're gonna watch it together and see what he says, and, you know, you guys can decide with me if you think it's good.
In this video, I want to address how I have made my content throughout my time on this platform, but more specifically with a series of videos I made regarding Super Mega. If you're unsure about what happened, I'm going to be talking about a lot of my specific actions in this video, but if you want a more detailed overview, I would watch this video by Unpoetic Justice that summarized and documented a lot of what happened since July. I'm going to be linking that video in the description.
Okay, so I will say, it's weird to me that that's the video he credits, because there's way bigger videos, right? This is just like kind of a thing that doesn't really mean anything, and ultimately the rest of this apology is good, so it doesn't really matter. But notice how the one person he acknowledged, I mean, come on, I'm not schizophrenic here, okay? Destiny calls him out, ignores him, won't name him. I call him out, ignored, won't name me, right? And I'm not desperate for the clout from Nick. I don't need like his attention or his approval. But like, this is the one. This has less views than some of the other videos I've seen, like by Jimmy Robinson, right? Jimmy Robbins. Okay, so I was close. This guy, he had a video. I mean, this video has 300,000 views. This one has almost 1 million, just about Nick, and it wasn't mentioned here, and I don't know why, but I am guessing it's because I think honestly it's because she's a black woman. I mean, Nick will say why, you know, the video was just the best one, but it's like, this is the shortest video, this is the least in depth probably. I think that's probably why.
I'm going to be linking that video in the description. For the past 6 months, I have been defending myself against criticism for how I used my platform in a series of videos I made attacking Matt Watson and Ryan McGee of Super Mega. I stubbornly persisted and posted videos thinking that I was somehow the victim in this drama that was stoked by YouTubers that friends of mine had a bad experience with. In December, I decided to take a step back from posting videos, and over the span of the last month or so, I have slowly processed and realized just how wrong I really am. And the realization of being ignorant and immature and dangerous throughout the course of this whole thing has not actually been a unique experience for me. This situation followed patterns of past behavior that are rooted in my character and how I respond to criticism from other people. And I realized that I'm not really getting hate because of the content I make or because of the audience that I have or because everyone else is wrong. I got all this criticism because I was wrong.
So right off the bat, really good apology. A lot of people are going to say, well, it's too late, you know, too little, too late. Well, you know, sometimes it takes a while to know you're wrong, you know? I mean, it took him, I guess, like 2 months in this case. Sometimes it takes a little while to realize that you f***ed up and you really up. And the fact that he's saying this at all, I think, is probably a testament to him being less of a bad person than, you know, maybe many of you initially thought. And I actually think this is a very good response, you know, to say and admit full-heartedly that, like, he was wrong, he f***ed it up, it's no one else's fault but his own, and say that he wants to, you know, correct that is, I think, kind of noble. You know, he's humiliating himself to the internet, right? Because now, the few people that were on his side for the Super Mega stuff, they're gonna fucking hate him. But I think that this response and acknowledgement of, like, wrongdoing is actually quite good, and the comments section is pretty much actually, you know, I think they realize that he's kind of wearing his heart on his sleeve here, and I think they realize he's being honest. Linking another YouTuber's call-out video in your apology is an admirable demonstration of humility. This felt very honest. I think you might be surprised how relatable a lot of what you said was, even for those of us without a platform. Specifically the part where you spoke about not wanting to ask those around you if you could possibly be in the wrong because you were afraid of the answer. I think many of us feel that way sometimes. Anyway, look forward to the future of your content, Nick. Sounds like you're in a much better place. And it does look like he is, like, giving a completely mature response where he actually addresses everything. Obviously, we're only a minute and a half into it, so things could change, but I mean, so far he's already come out of the gate and acknowledged, like, that he up and that, like, it's nobody else's fault but his own. And that's big, because previously he was like saying, well, all these bigoted freaks are coming after me, which was like, you know, me and Destiny, basically, I think is who he's talking about. Maybe Sensitive Society is included in there, probably after his beef with Ethan is Online. But here he's, like, kind of doing away with all that and saying, like, you know what, regardless of, like, who is criticizing me, which the bigoted thing is really funny, but anyway, he's saying, like, regardless of how I may feel about my critics, like, they are right. And that's an important thing to acknowledge, I think.
For these videos, I really only saw the most aggressive and the most extreme reactions to what I did, and I immediately ignored it and turned away from it. And not just those comments, but from people who are actual fans of mine who were worried about what I was doing. I would see certain content creators making countless videos against me who I didn't like, and I would not take it seriously at all. I would see disgusting comments about me and my friends, and I would turn away from it and refuse to give it any validity, and I would keep working through it and doing my job as if I had nothing to apologize about. I wouldn't watch the videos, I wouldn't read any of the comments. It took way too long for me to realize that not only was I wrong about the way that I have used my platform over the past few months, but a lot of the people who I on who made content about me were actually right. This is the 5th time I've responded.
And this is such a big moment, like, for him to come to terms with the fact that, like, no matter how much he doesn't like someone like Destiny was right about him. You know, Destiny covered the allegations better than Nick ever could have. And ultimately, like, Nick is the one that got himself in this situation because of his poor journalism. The fact that he didn't research the videos that he was making. The fact that he didn't, you know, give the caveat that, like, these are allegations. You know, he just propagated it all as facts against Matt and Ryan because he didn't like them. And I think that's a good thing to acknowledge and to just like put it out there that, like, regardless of, you know, Nick disagreeing with, let's say, Destiny politically, or he probably disagrees with my, you know, takes on, like, I don't know, the N-word or something, right? Regardless of that, he's still willing to come out and say, like, you know what, these people were right, and like, that hurts to feel that, but these people are right. That's really good. And I didn't expect this video at all from Nick. I thought that he was going to be relatively stubborn forever. I thought maybe if we got, you know, some kind of acknowledgement or apology, it would be in a few years. I thought he was too prideful, but over time he slowly came to the realization validation, I think, of, you know, him being wrong, and that's nice to see. Now, one thing I am curious about is how Ethan and Lex feel about this, because I think recently Ethan and Lex were teasing some kind of response to my video, and saying that, like, I had poorly researched my video, and they were gonna, like, own me in the marketplace of ideas. This kind of video certainly doesn't help their confidence with that, I imagine. I wonder if that's ever coming out. I would guess probably not right now, but, you know, you never know. It might come out. It might come out. Maybe they'll have some good points against me. You know, maybe I'll get owned a little bit. You never know. That being said, I think the Super Mega video I did is relatively airtight, so I can't imagine there being anything huge. And the one thing they did try to point out, they took my shit out of context, so they got owned there. But I'm curious how they feel about this. I would suspect that Nick and them are not friends anymore. I believe I saw Lex liking a bunch of tweets shitting on Nick, calling him like a bad person. So sort of the blame game at this point, where Ethan and Lex are blaming Nick for fucking it up, and Nick is blaming himself and like taking accountability for himself, when in reality everybody in that situation messed up. Everybody did. And the sooner they all realize that, the better off they'll be, truly.
Every single time before this, I have done or said things that have made my actions even more harmful. I wrote off any of the criticism, basically saying that the people who were making videos about me weren't credible sources in my eyes. They were responding in bad faith. And this isn't something that I have only done in this situation, but it's something that I've done during my past few years on YouTube. I never really took a fair look at what people were saying about me online, because whenever I saw the most aggressive comments, I ignored everything else. And I tried to move on as if I've done nothing wrong. I have horrible anxiety around reading or seeing content about me, and it caused me to do some very ignorant things. But without making those videos and receiving the kind of criticism I did, I don't think I would have come to this drastic of a realization. I think I would be making the same exact videos I was making before if none of this had happened. I surrounded myself with validation and people who insisted that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't comfortable telling people close to me that I believed I could have been wrong, because I was afraid to face reality. And I see how it could be expected that I would come into this video blaming the people I surrounded myself with who enabled this kind of behavior.
Part of what I'm curious about with these other situations he mentions, like his behavior in the past, I'm curious what he's referring to. Things that come to mind would be like Abelina Sabrina, where he basically co-signed her allegations against Gus Johnson, when in reality, really all that happened there was like Gus was kind of a bad boyfriend, and seemingly they had like agreed like they would get an abortion if she got knocked up prior, and then she got knocked up and didn't want the abortion. He got upset about that. And then he also, during that situation, Pay Money Wubby tried to do an interview with Gus, and it was an okay interview. But Nick, like, he was like, no, you can't do that. You can't talk to him, which is like a ridiculous thing to say. Or like when Nick tried to deplatform, and I guess kind of successfully contributed to deplatforming Sneeko. I wonder if he regrets any of that. I wonder if he does. There's probably other examples throughout Nick's career. I've had a bunch of people send me emails about him, saying to like go through his past and shit. And I was considering that, but now that he's made this apology, to me, it's like, is there any need for that? Like, if he's actually gonna change his content and like genuinely is like feeling bad for it, then I feel like we should allow him some space to make future stuff and grow, you know? And it can be fun to be spiteful. I get it. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to hold on to this forever and just be spiteful and hateful of these people forever. But you got to recognize, like, Nick, as, you know, annoying and cringe as he is, and you know, as much as his swag is turned the hell down, he's still a person, and he's still a fallible person, and he can also still change and get better with time. And I'm curious to see if he genuinely does that. I think that would be really nice.
But the reality of the situation is, despite who I was friends with, despite who I chose to publicly stand with, I was the one that made the decisions to act in the way I did and react to the criticism I was getting. And when I was trusted to be a responsible content creator who is doing things that other people won't do on this platform, I turned out to be a coward. I have full control over how I edit and write and do everything on this channel, yet these mistakes still happened because they are rooted in who I am as a content creator. And I had the realization that in order to use my platform in the most responsible way I could, I needed to have a complete overhaul of my behavior, and I needed to make major changes to how I make my videos, including how I receive and respond to feedback.
It seems to me that like Nick was kind of in this content factory type thing, which a lot of creators fall into. I mean, I'm, you know, certainly a part of a content factory, right? My Tom Dark channel is like in every day we're putting out a new video, you know? When you're covering allegations like that, you know, super fast and serious every day, it can be easy to fuck it up. And I think the due diligence you have to have is just maintaining a neutral stance going into these things, analyzing the facts for what they are, having your opinions on what they may be, acknowledging what you don't know, and being open to the idea of your mind being changed. All these are important. And Nick was going into a lot of videos with a preconceived idea and notion of who the people he was talking about were, and it ultimately burned him, you know? But it's crazy to look at, like, it wasn't that long ago he was doing crazy well. Like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, hundreds of thousands of views. views every single video. I mean, destroying 900,000, 700,000, 600,000, 700,000, 1 million. Like, he was doing really well, and then the super mega thing happened, and his views just totally tanked. He stopped uploading, and I think that, you know, probably deep down he knew that he was doing something wrong, maybe the entire time. But I think when he really came to the major realization, he just, you know, he had a bit of a spurg out. He had multiple, you know, responses to the drama. He had multiple, you know, sort of walkbacks and bad faith responses, and multiple instances of being like, the Reddit debate bros are coming after me, which, like, is, I mean, that's pretty funny. I think that meme should stick around in the Tom Dart community. Okay, Reddit debate nerds or whatever. I think that's good. But it seems like he came to the realization that he was just, you know, he was a slop factory, and he wasn't doing his due diligence. And for someone who claims to care about these issues, he wasn't really showing it. And so it's good to see him here. I mean, once again, I feel like I'm just glazing him a little bit, but it's like nice to see someone who for once has like a good apology, you know? And I think that acknowledging that you did something wrong, it's hard to get there. Like, it's hard to get yourself there. But once you do it, it's very freeing, because then you're like, well, now that I've acknowledged it and it's out in the air, nobody can say that I didn't apologize, you know? Nobody can say I'm not at least trying. And if he genuinely changes as a person, like, ultimately, like, he's all the better for it, you know? He's better to have that apology and, you know, just come out and be honest with how he feels and then move on, rather than just ignore it and just like try to push on, you know? If he genuinely thinks he did something wrong, then apologizing is the most freeing thing he could do, because now he can actually move on without this like weight on his shoulders of like something he did wrong, and have this constantly in the back of his mind. So it's nice to see, man.
The way that I treated online controversy and the people involved was gross, and it is cruel, and not just in the super mega video, but in a lot of my videos in the past 3 years. I've made a career off publicly shaming people for mistakes that they may have desperately regretted. And of course, it's ironic that I have spent hours over dozens of videos laughing at people's mistakes and the way they respond to criticism.
So is he not even going to be a commentary channel anymore? Is he completely reworking everything? I mean, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of funny. I didn't think that would be a thing he would do, but maybe that's good. I don't know. I never really liked his videos, so maybe that's for the best. But Jesus, like, he's just quitting being a commentary channel. Like, to be clear, you can fuck up and then still criticize people. This in particular is probably worse because it questions his journalistic integrity or whatever. But you can still criticize people if you fuck up a story, as long as you correct it. And it seems like he is correcting it now. But man, some of these titles are just the stinkiest comedian on TikTok. Old white men are still mad about diversity in Hollywood. Millennial dating advice is scary. Republican parenting advice is so goofy. Incel commentary videos are impossible to watch. This is just like, man, I don't know. The swag is turned all the way down.
That's what I'm saying. The swag is turned down.
But, you know, it seems like he's turning his swag up. I think his swag is sort of at a neutral point now. And he could definitely turn it way TF up if he tries.
When I myself have been closed off to any criticism or feedback that I receive on my own videos. And I'm aware that I've had content in my past that people have considered harmful and that people have spoken out about. Specifically, my J-pop idol group video, my Love Surge video, my video about that.
So the J-pop idol group thing, I believe was I believe he called these girls racist because they were like dressing up like J-pop people and singing like Japanese songs. And I believe that I think he did this with Hassan in some way. I think there was some collab they did where they like shit on them, and then like coincidentally that people got doxxed after, so people kind of claim that they doxed them. I don't think that they doxed them, to be clear, but it did seem like kind of a fucking like, just why even have a problem with this? Although maybe what they were doing is cringe. Here we go. Yeah, here's Hassan Abi and NickIsNotGreen, the dream team, dude. I would not want a fucking better group of guys in my corner backing me up. It's so beautiful.
I'll go ahead and start with mine. I'm gonna say lucky, lucky, and then all of us together say Alice. Are you ready? Lucky, lucky, Alice.
There's a lot of people, they said it. This is brainwashing. Why are conservatives worried about like how our children are wearing rainbow flags or what?
Okay, I can't watch these goofballs. I do appreciate the fact my computer is making them 200, like 180p or something though. I appreciate the fact that it blurs out their face so I don't even have to look at them, so I can't even really tell what's going on.
Even more of my videos have received criticism for being too mean and promoting hate towards people who do not deserve it, and for that, I am deeply sorry. I know that I've been defensive in the past when people have criticized my channel for having opinions that are too surface level or making videos with not enough effort. People were hurt by what I was saying and what I was making, and regardless of my intent, I chose to ignore these people and to continue making my content, and for that, I am sorry. I had my sights on making my videos efficiently and consistently without putting the proper care that is required for the kind of audience that I have. My priorities were on my growth and my income, and that drive caused me to forget about everything else that was going on around me so I could feel better better about myself. And so this video is not only a statement and an apology, but it is a public commitment to using my platform in a way that is constructive and has integrity. I personally do not believe that commentary or critique videos are inherently harmful. I know plenty of content creators who do what I do in a good way, but the way that I was making content was absolutely harmful. It was careless, and it is not up to the standards that I want to set for myself moving forward. My content has lacked the care needed to deliver personal opinions that are educated and thorough, and I continually prioritize the efficiency of my content over making videos that I am truly proud of.
Now, to be clear, I think that you actually can do the like daily commentary videos or like the really frequent ones. I think you just have to put a lot of time into it. Like, I think you have to try, and you also have to once again have like a more neutral disposition towards what you're covering. Not every video can be totally sensationalist and crazy, right? Some things are going to be boring, which is why a lot of my videos, people rib me for it a little bit, but a lot of my videos are like half of it's me saying I don't care, because a lot of it is just like most controversies, quote unquote controversies, are so dumb and don't need to happen. And I feel like looking at Nick's channel is like looking at like a bunch of controversies that I feel like it's more funny and like accurate to make fun of the idea of the controversy itself than like what's going on, because ultimately most controversy on the internet is it doesn't mean anything. It's so trivial and just nothing. 70% of shit is just like totally nothing. And I mean, I think it's funny to like make fun of people, to be clear. I think that's like, they can make fun of the J-pop people if they want. I'll make fun of fucking J-pop. I make fun of furries every day, okay? I hate them. I hate them, and I will reserve my right to hate them. But if you're being inaccurate with your information, then that's obviously bad. And I also think pushing for deplatforming like he did with Sneeko is bad. And I also think policing who you can and can't talk to is also bad. Like he was doing with Gus Johnson and Abelina Sabrina. So yeah, I mean, it seems like he really has come around with like acknowledging his flaws, you know? And I mean, he was an overly negative person. He does seem to be overly negative, but he seems like he wants to be like generative with his stuff now and like make something broader and like greater and more fulfilling for himself and others. And I mean, that seems cool, you know? I think you can make great commentary videos, but if he doesn't want to do that and he thinks he can do something more, good for him. I hope he does it. I hope he succeeds at it. And this isn't even ironic. Like, I genuinely hope, like, considering he's apologizing for this, I hope that within a year or two, I hope he's like in a better place on YouTube and enjoying where he is, and he's not, you know, being a shithead. That would be nice.
Apologize to Matt Watson and Ryan McGee for harmfully mishandling my coverage on a situation that I should never have been involved in. I'm sorry for repeatedly being ignorant because I was too afraid to face criticism, and I just talked and listened to people who made me feel like I was right. I made posts insulting and denying any wrongdoing on my end because I was too afraid to challenge anything else. I made my initial videos about Super Mega because I had pre-existing feelings and beliefs about them based on what friends of mine told me in private, and I got angry and I wanted to fight for them. I got my emotions involved in a conflict that I had nothing to do with. I saw all of these comments as harassment to me, my friends, and my family, and it caused me to react in a destructive way. At the time, I believed that agreeing with what people were saying about me or apologizing would be turning on those close to me, and it would make me a flawed person and content creator. But it is humiliating to come to the realization that the content I make is far from helpful or honest or safe. And the way that I deflected blame for my own actions ended up hurting both parties involved. The decisions that I made while covering the Super Mega situation and the way I responded to criticism ended up hurting the people that I was trying to help in the first place because I didn't handle it with the care that was needed.
Okay, so when Nick's video came out, if you remember, there was a live stream from Ethan and Lex afterwards, and they were happy with his coverage and how it went. And then afterwards, once he got in a bunch of shit, then they were unhappy with it, and like Lex was liking all the tweets about Nick being a bad person. And from that, we can probably extrapolate that in their minds, the way that they were going to justify like what happened was like, well, all the people criticizing us are wrong, but also Nick fucked us over and is part of the reason, and he's the bad guy. But I wonder if watching this video has led them to believe it all, like, well, maybe we were wrong too. Maybe we effed up. That would be a great turn of events. If Lex apologized, if Ethan apologized, I think that would be great. Now, it remains to be seen if something like this happens again with these guys. Obviously, their apology is completely like void. It's null and void. But if it doesn't happen, then they probably have actually grown as people, and that's kind of nice and good. Even right now, for me, it's hard to imagine like Lex and Ethan like coming around. I mean, Ethan isn't even, he's not even really on YouTube anymore, is he? When was the last time Ethan is online posted? Oh, he posted 6 hours ago. Wait, he is posting. I didn't know he was even around. I thought he left. Hold on. So 3 months ago, Greg Gutfeld, America's Worst Comedian. So Ethan did post a video recently right here. It looks like he didn't talk about what happened at all, really, which is an interesting play. I thought he would end up responding responding in some way, probably eventually. I feel like you can't just ignore it forever. But it seems like his plan is literally to just ignore it forever, which is funny. I wonder how that's going to work out for him. Because I remember back when this stuff went down, Ethan's comment section was like filled with this kind of stuff. And he said something on Twitter about how like the reason he wasn't responding was because he knew it could hurt Lex's like case or something. And like he was not responding out of some sense of, I don't know, doing the right thing for her. But then he also like got in drama with Sensitive Society. He was like, what's up, little you gonna keep my name in your mouth? He did the like internet tough guy act, which is pretty funny because I mean, first of all, nobody, even someone who is a tough guy, should not be doing the internet tough guy act. But when you imagine like Ethan is online being mad at you, it's like imagining like the Buc-ee's mascot being upset with you or something.
There were people close to me that had to endure harassment because I refused to listen to those in my life who were telling me that I may have been doing something wrong. I realized that I made a mistake in my first video saying that I asked for permission to cover the story from the victim, and then later in my coverage said that I was actually asked to cover the story. Now I want to clarify that I was asked to cover this story by the victim, but that does not remove any of the accountability I need to take for how I covered the story and how I responded to the criticism I got from it. That is nobody's fault but mine. I used a serious situation as an excuse to make insults and jabs at Super Mega because I got emotionally involved in a conflict that should have been treated with more severity. Childishly insulting Matt and Ryan and thinking it's okay because I'm the good guy and they're the bad guys is an embarrassing decision that I decided to make.
And ultimately, this is a thing we see in like sort of I mean every community does this. Like people, this isn't even like a political thing. You just see this like justification of like, well, the ends justify the means. So any action against Matt and Ryan is just because they are bad people, right? So we can call them this, we can call them that, we can report unsubstantiated allegations about them, we can engage in countless privacy violations like revealing who Matt's girlfriend is or accusing Ryan of cheating, which I think Ryan did do that. But like, do we need to know that? Do we need to know that he like fans? Like, I don't fucking care. I don't care that he slept with a fan. Like, that doesn't bother me whatsoever, and it shouldn't bother you either, unless he SA'd that person, but he didn't. So there's no conversation to be had. And it kind of seems like in these drama situations, like someone does one wrong thing, and therefore any action against them is justified, which is wrong, and that's not how it should be. I think you have to take everything on a case-by-case basis. Getting emotionally invested in these stories is bad. It is bad, and it seems like Nick knows that now, and he's not gonna do it again. And if he does do it again, then there'll be, you know, hell, there'll be hell to pay, boy. This is a good response, man. This is good. He acknowledges it all. He lays it out specifically. I think the only thing he hasn't done thus far is talk about Daniel Kyrie, or was it Kyre? I can't remember how it's pronounced, but like Matt Watson's, Matt and Ryan's like best friend who Minecrafted himself, for lack of a better term, for YouTube monetization purposes, and then he was brought up as like a point against them to like claim that they mocked him. I think the other thing that Ethan brought up was the Chucky N-word cheese thing, which I guess around the Super Mega office, he claimed that the joke was like that Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word. I thought that was epic. But you know, basically, all these things became like cannon fodder against them as like, oh, they covered up, you know, our word, and they did this, and they did that, and they're unfaithful. And it's like, well, if someone being unfaithful is like completely unrelated to this other thing. And also, like, why do these people care about that? Aren't these like sex positive people? Why does that matter? But yeah, it seems like Nick like fully realizes the extent of his F up.
Digs at Super Mega's relevance. I put edits in my video of Matt getting punched in the face, all because I was convinced that it was all right to bully these people in front of hundreds of thousands of people because I thought they were awful. And for months and months, I refused to believe that I was the problem. I put my head down and I kept working because I just kept telling myself that people were going to stop caring and the whole thing would blow over. I really wasn't comfortable with saying anything like this for a long time, but truly my character was the only thing stopping me from facing my mistakes, and I am ashamed of that. My behavior in the past 6 months is not something I stand behind proudly. I again want to apologize to Matt and Ryan and everyone else involved in this situation, regardless of if I agree with them or disagree with them. There's not a single person who I did not let down with my actions, and I am so sorry for using my platform destructively. I also want to specifically apologize for the carelessness used in how I talked about Matt and Ryan's late friend Daniel. It is concerning and cruel, to say the least, that I was not more immediately outspoken against the way that Daniel was talked about in other people's videos, including my own. And the fact that I believed that this information was relevant at all to this story is ridiculous.
It is completely ridiculous, and I think it was a cope to, say otherwise. I believe the place he got that in the initial video was he read this Reddit post that was compiled from Leighton's stream. Basically, he was like just repeating that. Nick read it in his video, and he read there something about how Matt and Ryan had mocked Daniel's death, basically, and like called him a coward or something. And he reported that. Now, to be clear, you can say like this person said that. You just can't say that is real, and I know it's real. Like, it can be mentioned. It can be mentioned. Like, if I'm making a video about some allegations, I can mention that they exist, but you don't have to take one person's side entirely on that, and Nick did, which is part of the problem. And I think that Lex, I think that Lex claimed that too in her video, and I'm really curious why she did that. I honestly think that was probably a lie, them saying that, Matt and Ryan said that. So that's how I feel about that. But I'm curious if we're ever going to see Lex and Ethan come out and be like, well, we justified lying about certain things because we felt like we were so wrong that it was just fair game. I wonder if they are going to say that, if we ever get that. That would be super interesting.
Of someone's character, when in reality, I used someone's tragedy to push an agenda. I was blinded by this hate that I had on behalf of people who were close to me, and it led me to do and say some pretty awful things. Learning just how much growing I have to do and how flawed I really am has been the hardest, but probably most important lesson I have learned in my life so far. I would not be making this difficult of a decision if it were not for the people who were this persistent about my bad behavior, and I am grateful that I have been given this many chances to finally take a hard look at how I've been handling myself, my platform, my content for the past 3 years. I spent months responding to a controversy that removed blame from my actions, and it wasn't until now that I realized it's time for a change. My content reflects who I am, and for years now I've been making content that I do not want to be remembered by. I'm not proud of having a career made from ridiculing people and acting like I know better and that I'm worthy of judging them. Time and time again, I excused my gross behavior and I cultivated an audience around pretending that I'm a better person than those I criticize. I know that I'm capable of being more than this, and that is going to start with immediately changing the content I make to be more intentional, constructive, and meaningful to me. I apologize to those who have watched my content at any point over the last 3 years.
Apologizing to anyone who's seen his videos.
My character and learning from my mistakes over my time on YouTube. I also want to apologize to any survivors of sexual assault that were disappointed or hurt by the way I've handled this story. It is disrespectful beyond words the way that I have used this story to defend my own actions, and I am sorry. I won't be making this mistake again. I want to thank those who have given me the time and the chance to apologize and make things right, including loved ones of mine who have helped me grow to a place where I can understand that I can be better than this.
So I assume who he's talking about there for loved ones is, probably like close friends, maybe his family, probably is his girl. I think he's dating, what's her name? Dev Lemons or something. I think she does the queef jerky music thing with him. So I imagine maybe he talked to her about that. But whoever it was, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that he apologized and he copped to everything. He admitted completely in his wrongdoing, like to a degree that he even went above what I would have expected for bare minimum apology. Saying the Daniel thing, talking about his past videos, saying, and even beyond that, apparently the situation is like jumbled his brain a little bit, scrambled it a bit, scrambled those eggs a little bit, and now he wants to just quit commentary stuff altogether. He's so off put by it, and I find that very interesting and very nice to see that apparently this has really changed his outlook on life. And I would encourage you guys to set aside whatever hate you have for him and his actions and realize he is apologizing, right? He's basically doing as much as he can. The old videos about this are down. This is the only one that's up. He took a big financial hit from this during the most profitable months of the year, which are November and December. He is definitely going to take a bit of an audience hit with this, because if he makes completely different content than what people are used to, he's going to take a big dip in viewership, right? He's going to take a big dip, and he seems okay with that because he wants to be a better person and make good stuff. I think that's really noble. I think that's a really good thing to do. I think that shows that he could be a good person, and maybe he is and will be one. You love to see it. You love to see a happy ending. As for Ethan and Lex, I don't know if we're gonna get our happy ending from them. And speak of the devil, I'm going to the Asian massage parlor right now to get one. So appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you disliked it. Drop a comment down below for the Korean lady who's gonna be
jerking my turkey
in 20 minutes, and I will catch you all in 3 Diet Cokes. What the fuck am I saying? Holy shit. Thanks for watching. Bye. Fuck off, dude. And be sure to become a member. For $5 a month, they get the members only podcasts and exclusive videos that only members get. Thanks so much for your support.
No